Going with the flow has impacted my life tremendously. First off, what does going with the flow mean? Going with the flow, I have some notes here that I'm going to talk about this video, but going with the flow is pretty much like trusting the process instead of controlling the outcome, which is pretty much responding instead of resisting. Okay, so what does this mean? As we all know, life tends to throw a bunch of uncontrollable situations, right? Whether it may be to yourself, right? The people around you, your family members, your pets, right? Your close friends. Stuff is gonna happen, right? At work, right? During sports, stuff is gonna happen. And pretty much what going with the flow is responding to that situation, right? Hopefully in a positive manner, but responding to it and not resisting. Okay, and I'll give you guys an example. This is something that I struggle with big time in college. If you know my college story, you know it in detail, but if not, I'll just give you a quick rundown. I was a left-handed college pitcher up to 96 miles an hour, played at some really good colleges, was committed to a Division I school, and I ended up getting the yips. The yips is just a mental block. And when I was in college, a big mental block where I couldn't throw a baseball anymore. You know, I went from being really, really good to really, really bad, like shitty in a very short amount of time. And the only limiting factor, I didn't get hurt, right? Nothing really happened other than all up here in the head. And a big factor of that was me not going with the flow, right? Me resisting stuff that I should have probably just been like, okay, it is what it is, right? I got to college and a lot of things changed. And instead of just, understanding, okay, like this is out of my control, right? I was trying to resist it. I was trying to find a way out of it. And another thing about going with the flow is controlling the controllables, right? Controlling the things that are in your control. For example, you wake up one day and you were planning to go on a nice hike with your girlfriend and it starts pouring, right? Not going with the flow would be resisting that, would be getting so upset, would be trying to search up, searching up, oh, when is the rain gonna stop? When is all this gonna stop, right? Going with the flow would be, oh, like that sucks, right? I'm not saying just stay positive 24/7. No, because stuff's gonna happen where you're not gonna wanna stay positive. It's very simple, not easy. But back to that hike example, it'd be waking up, it's pouring rain, and you're like, oh, like that sucks, like it would have been nice. And then seeing what other activities you can do. Maybe we can go to the trampoline park. Maybe we can go, have a nice dinner somewhere as it's pouring, right? Going with the flow, understanding that controlling the weather, nobody can do that, right? I mean, some people might be able to, but to our knowledge, nobody can control the weather, right? And so it's all about going with the flow in that specific situation and in all situations in life, right? Responding to life, not resisting, making the necessary adjustments, right? Not resisting. The third thing I want to talk about here is that doesn't mean be lazy, right? Going with the flow and not putting effort are two completely different things, right? So for example, I'll talk about my own situation. I was going to talk about this later, but I'll talk about it now. Right now, if you follow me on Instagram, and actually I posted this on YouTube too, I'm chasing a 500-pound raw zercher squat. Even just saying that, freaking makes me have a bunch of adrenaline, but whatever. I'm chasing a 500-pound raw zercher squat, and I've attempted 500 pounds. My PR is 470 raw, no belt, no knee sleeves, no nothing, because that's baby food. But I've attempted 500 the past month, every single week. And I know I have it in me, And, I've attempted it for 3 weeks in a row. And you could honestly argue that I'm not going with the flow, but I was supposed to deload. Way earlier, but I didn't because I wanted to push and I wanted to get it before deloading, but I didn't. I failed it this past Tuesday, and instead of continuing to push, instead of being angry, I was angry for 25-30 minutes. If you saw a video of me lifting the car up, but I was angry. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to y'all like I never get angry. No, it's bullshit. I get angry all the time, and not all the time. I'm a very happy person, but I'm getting off track here. I'm just yapping. But what I'm saying is I'm understanding that that's just what reality is, as opposed to trying to force it, as opposed to trying to resist from that, right? Not showing up to the gym the next day and trying for it again, right? I'm on a deload now. I'm taking a break. I'm getting the information. I'm understanding that that's just what was meant to be. That was just what was meant to happen, right? Not resisting it, right? It's out of my control, honestly. Not hitting the 500 pounds is out of my control simply because what's in my control, right? My mood, my mindset, my nutrition, my physical aspects, literally everything, my warm up, everything is dialed. I did everything like to the best of my abilities, and me not hitting that number is out of my control. So me resisting that would be me not going with the flow. And even in other areas of my life, right? This is the fifth point here, is this happens in my business all the time. And I'll give you guys an example. People try on social media, they try to force viral videos, right? And instead of letting the viral videos come to them, right? Instead of being authentic, right? I try to be authentic as possible on social media, but not, for example, not getting clients, right? That's not a problem for me right now, but when it was in the earlier stages when I started social media, right? I was trying to force the outcomes, right? And that's a big thing with not going with the flow. It's forcing the outcomes, forcing something that's not meant to be right now, forcing it, wanting to come to you, creating so much importance, creating so much potential over it. And the people that do this, and even myself, in the earlier stages, there's still lots of situations where I don't go with the flow. I'm not perfect, but I'm getting really, really good. And I'm conditioning my brain to instead of the default way of thinking where we think that the harder we push and the more oomph we give towards our goals, the quicker we're gonna get them. No, it's actually the opposite way around, right? But back to that third point, that doesn't mean be lazy, right? You need to put as much effort as you can into it, work the smartest, give the most effort, work the smartest, like want the goal, but don't obsess over it, right? And so I was trying to force, getting clients, force, trying to go viral, and the moment I stopped forcing, just being authentic, just doing what I could, doing what was in my control and going with the flow of life is when everything started coming to me. And I wish I would have known, I have a squishy thing here. I wish I would have known about this. It's not that I didn't know about it. I definitely knew about going with the flow when I was in college, because that was only like 3 years ago. But I didn't know like it worked so well, and I didn't know it worked so fast. And when I was in college, like I was resisting everything. Like I said, back to the college days, like I was obsessing over my technique, my mechanics, taking video, right? Oh, like I'm supposed to get drafted this year. I'm supposed to get signed this year, as opposed to just understanding like, okay, like I can't put too much importance into what's going on, or else that will actually get me further away from my goals, right? Understanding that you just have to go with the flow. It's very, very simple, not easy, because most people, pretty much everyone, is conditioned to think that when stuff doesn't go your way, you're not doing something right. Or when stuff doesn't go your way, you just need to push harder in order to get to where you want to go, in order to get your goals, when most of the time, right, it's actually the opposite. Again, don't be lazy, right? Do not be lazy. Going with the flow doesn't mean being lazy. It just means controlling what you can control, and whatever happens, happens. And whatever happens, respond to it instead of resisting to it. Okay, I'm really hoping that I'm describing this in a good way, in a good manner, because it is kind of like some people will understand, some people won't. But the only way you'll really understand is if you do it, right? Because again, I didn't really understand this as much when I was growing up, when I was in college, when I was a little bit younger. I'm still young, but when I was younger, and now that I actually understand what this means and how this feels, it kind of feels like I'm able to create my own reality. I'm able to kind of, not predict what's going to happen and not dictate what's going to happen. But now, instead of, kind of, how do I put this? Instead of just like letting life dictate how I feel, I dictate how I feel, because no matter what happens, I'm only controlling what I can control, right? And I'll just end the video here because I feel like I'm getting so technical, but I really hope I made you guys understand what I meant by this, and how flow has really impacted my life, and a lot of other people that I know as well have said the same thing. But you can't force flow. If I'm gonna leave you, I'll leave you guys with this right here. I'll conclude the video with this. Don't force flow. You can't force flow. Anytime, any situation you find yourself trying to force something, you're doing the opposite of going with the flow. That's the simplest way I can put it. I'll say that again. Anytime you find yourself mentally or physically trying to really force something, and you're forcing it and it's not happening, that's for a reason, and you're not going with the flow. What you have to do is default back, take a deep breath, 2 seconds in, 4 seconds out, and understand that it's not in your control right now, right? Control the controllables and respond to life. Don't resist. You can't force flow. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.